Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
So, welcome to this week's Coffee with Karen. This is a weekly show, a cup of positivity with just a sprinkling of woo-woo. However, today we might be getting a little bit more of the woo-woo. So each week my guests will share with you either from a mental, a physical or a spiritual perspective, or you know what, sometimes all three. I love the combination. My own coaching business is all about the holistic approach, combining the mental, the physical, and that little bit of woo-woo. So I'm very happy to have my guest with me today. So Isla, if you could explain to the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, and share a little bit of your story.
Sure. So thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me on here. And I'm really grateful to be able to share, whatever I can share here. So my name is E Khagram, and I'm a certified master teacher of Tao Academy. So it's the teaching of Tao, and we actually just help people to become happier and healthier through spiritual, helps clear spiritual blockages, to help clear blockages from the heart, to help clear blockages from the mind, and also from the body. And it's a very holistic approach. But the key aspect of everything that I do is about the soul. So, heal the soul first, then healing and transformation of the heart, mind, and body will follow. What happens is a lot of the times the soul is forgotten, So we're either working on energy or working on the physical body, and then we forget that the soul is still carrying the information. The soul is still carrying the messages. So if somebody is ill, the message is still there. Unless we don't clear that. So most of the work that I do is based and on the teachings and the wisdoms about the soul. So we're in a new era right now. This new era started on August 8th, 2003. And this era, so if you remember, the last era was all about mind, the personal development, all that. Everybody was doing that. That was the mind era. So the mind was in charge, the mind was in the forefront of everything. So in 2003, we came into the soul light era, where in this era, the soul is the boss. And unless we don't acknowledge and accept and allow the soul to lead, we're still going to be going round and round in the circle of trying to get out of this bitter sea, as we call it, right? We're all in this bitter sea of suffering to move out of it. So that's a little bit.
Now that's interesting, because I have thought previously that our soul is all perfect. It's all knowing, all loving. It is perfect, and it would be the physical part of us, because obviously, and the listeners, this may be a little bit further out for some. Some may have been introduced to it a little bit more, that actually we are just spirit living in a physical body at this moment in time, but our soul is perfect. So this is a slightly different teaching. So can you share with where does this kind of teaching come from?
So this wisdom and teaching is like, there's a whole saying about all dharmas, all teachings lead to one. So there is only one universal truth, but different teachings, different dharmas. Dharma is just another word for a different school of teaching. They teach different ways to get to that one truth. So if we look at this, the one truth is that we do have a soul. So we have a reincarnated soul, and we have our original soul. So from the Tao wisdom, our original soul is the soul of the source. It's the Tao, right? It's the ultimate. So that resides in our lower abdomen. and it stays there, and it's not in charge, right? So it's because we've come into this world with our pollution, with our polluted soul. So our reincarnated soul. Those who believe in reincarnation, great. I'm happy to share this. Those who don't, then just keep an open mind that this does exist, and that there is a possibility of this. So that's what we have. We have our polluted soul as well, the one that has to learn the lessons, the one that has to transform. So the purpose of our life is to join our polluted soul, which is called the Shu Shen, and the Yuan Shen, which is called the original soul, to join them as one, and then your true soul takes over. That's your authentic part.
Love it. Yeah, that
Mm.
makes that makes more sense to me. Yes, we always, I suppose, everybody, again, like you just said, there is only one truth, one universal truth, and everybody will be trying to teach their school of thought, but it actually all leads into the same one. And that has just totally love it. Love it. It's all about alignment. There you go. All about alignment.
And that alignment is such a key aspect of our own development to move forward, because everybody wants to be authentic, but no one knows what authentic means, right? Because no one knows who they are. This was a question asked to me many, many years ago. So I spent a lot of time in the Himalayas and stuff in my earlier days. And so I was just on a quest. I was on a quest to find out, who am I? What am I doing here? What am I here to do? And then who am I really, really started to help me understand deeper around this wisdom. And then I went through a lot of schools of spiritual ways, and then I came to my Tao Master, and my Tao Master just simplifies everything. And so now I understand so much, when we are coming from our polluted soul, our reincarnated soul, it is coming from our blockages. It is coming from things we have to learn, things we have to transform. Karma. Karma is a big word at the moment. Karma is like a taboo word as well. Not many people like to use it, but it's a universal law. So universal law, like in the personal development industry, when I was there, the universal law is cause and effect, which in effect is karma, right? So people use different words. In the Taoist teaching, they use de. In the Bible, they use deeds. So it's been around for thousands and millions of years, but the whole aspect of karma is real. Like, it is a spiritual law. So even in this lifetime, you think of every one of us, myself included, there have been times where we haven't been kind with our thoughts, we haven't been kind with our speech, we haven't been kind with our actions, and that has its comeback. So the law of karma doesn't have favoritism. The law of karma doesn't have, preferences. Oh, you won't be needing to go through that experience. You will go. What we do, what we receive, and it's that simple. So like in the Buddhist realms, it's very fascinating. Their whole teaching, they are always careful to not create. So if you think about, how they do their thoughts, speech, and actions, to not create negative blockages in any aspect of your life. Whereas we're not so careful about that. We're worried about the effect, right? We're worried about, oh, I've got health issues. Oh, I've got financial issues. Oh, I've got relationship issues. Most people are focused on that. So many of these dharmas and realms, they focus on the cause. What is the cause of this? And that's what the spiritual law of karma is. The spiritual law of karma says, offer good service, you receive benefits. Offer negative service, you receive the repercussions of that. And it's unconditional, so it doesn't have distinctions. We all will go through that. And that's when we can understand. And if we really think about the whole spiritual part of life, including even the personal development, isn't it just to become better human beings? That's it, isn't it? That's what we're doing. We're trying to become better human beings, to become kinder, to become more compassionate, to become more forgiving. Because I don't know anywhere out there where wars were started from forgiveness. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's because they weren't able to forgive, wars started. Because people weren't able to be in harmony, conflict started. So,
Absolutely.
so deep. It's very deep and very, vast.
It is very deep. The hardest thing, I think, I do feel slightly conflicted because I do believe in reincarnation. In fact, somebody has told me I've lived quite a few lives, or as they say to me once, I've been busy. I've been very busy, but then the flip side of it, those that would, not accept it or not be willing to accept it, they would always say, yeah, but what about a child, a child that's, they haven't done anything, and that I think is the only part of it where people, I get that whole thing, what you give out, you get back. But yes, I think that is the hardest part that people would struggle with. So how would you sort of soften that or help them over that part of it?
Yeah, so we have to be compassionate with all this, okay? So the wisdom is there, it's structured, it's a law, like we have the physical laws. You go through a red light, you will get penalized for things, right? You break the law, you are going to get the repercussions of it. So the spiritual law is a law, it exists, and it doesn't matter who we are, where we are. So in this lifetime, a baby that's born, perhaps they haven't done anything as they've entered in this world, but perhaps a past life was where there was something. Perhaps they needed to pay back to the people who are watching the suffering, right? And so it is related. And what we have, all of us, we have a heavens record book. We have a heavens record book. And in the record book is laid out every thought, every speech, every action, everything we've done from eons, from the time that we were created. Everything is logged in this, what's called an Akashic record book. And, so many people have heard of the Akashic record book. And so when you open this Akashic record book, because the book is not everybody can just open it. You have to have authority to be able to open it. Otherwise, the soul world is opened up in a crazy way, which doesn't go with the alignment of following the spiritual pathway and the laws, right? So sometimes when you see this, so I'll give you an example. I had a couple, and the husband was unfaithful to her, and he wasn't unfaithful once, he was unfaithful about 3-4 times, and there was conflict, and she came to me, and she says, why is he keeping doing this? And I'm like, I'm just going to leave him, I'm going to do this. Then I opened her record book and I did a reading for her, and I did a reading that in past lives she had done this to him, and she was very, very arrogant with the whole situation. So to understand that feeling, this had to be redone in this life so she could express it and experience it. So when we talk about a small child, like I had a client recently, her sister gave birth to a baby, and the baby didn't breathe, it wasn't crying, it didn't breathe, and doctors were like, okay, this baby's not going to survive. We offered a lot of healing to the baby. The baby started breathing, the baby started to... When I did a reading, I saw that this baby is here to teach the family compassion and understanding. So when your own blood and flesh and blood is going through something, you are going to soften up inside, right?
Right.
So it's not necessary that the baby is suffering. Yes, of course, sometimes you have this abuse, you have the child abuse, you have all of this stuff. Because this topic, I tell you, Karen, it's deep and it's so big. So it's not a black and white answer there.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes, it does make a lot of sense. So it's also the people around you.
Yeah.
That it could be that you are there to help them with something as they're going through. Fascinating. So how long have you been doing this? How long have you always had this gift, or how did it start?
So for me, when I was a young child, a little unique. I didn't play and do things like little kids did. You know, I used to hang out with my grandmother. We used to go to these spiritual sermons. I was so fascinated by it. I was fascinated by the wisdom since I was about 8 years old and would go everywhere she went. And I was just fascinated. But the reason I was fascinated by it, I'm from a Hindu culture. I had Jesus with me all the time. So Jesus was, you know, through my spiritual channels, he was with me all the time. He was communicating with me all the time. He saved my life on many occasions as well. And so on one occasion, I told the teacher, I drew a picture, and the teacher said, "Who's this? The picture of your father?" I said, "No." I said, "That's Jesus." She says, "How do you know he looks like that?" And I said, "Because he's standing right next to you." I said to her. So she wasn't impressed. No, she wasn't impressed. But what happened, because of the conflict that was going on around that, after I just said this, my channels closed up. So from a young age, I've been on a quest. So I spend a lot of time in ashrams in India. I spend a lot of time with spiritual teachers to learn and to understand, and not only just to understand and learn, but actually to digest it so I could transform. So I could just step into being who I'm here to be. And then, you know, back in 2012, I met my Tao master. So he was like, you know, he was like the cherry on the cake for me, because everything that I had come here to and through, and all the teachers that I'd come here, they only just prepared me for him. Because then I was able to digest the information and digest the wisdom. It's like a buffet, right? We have a buffet. Are we going to be able to eat everything in all one go? Well, we'd like to, right? Especially if it looks really. But we physically can't, and neither will we be able to digest it. The wisdom comes like that. Wisdom comes in chunk sizes, and we digest, absorb, and then we progress, we move forward, and then we're ready to receive more, and then we receive more. We digest, absorb, we're ready, and that's how it goes. That's the spiritual journey. We're all on a spiritual journey, you know? Even when people think they're not, we all are. Because, you know, you get this, you understand this. The physical, you know, the physical body is our vehicle. It is our vehicle, and it's taking our soul on an upliftment journey, because we're here to transform, right? We're here to go back to the source. We're here to be one with ourselves.
And I do think you're right. I do think there is definitely a change with a lot of people, especially, you know, what's gone on in the last year. I think there's been a lot of more of, I suppose, a word of describing it would be soul searching. A lot more people have gone inwards over this because of what's happened outwardly. That's, you know, even though in a way, I don't know, we like to, you know, in this sort of society, we like to feel like we're in control of everything. You know, we have a stable job. We perceive that it's stable, because actually nothing's stable. But that whole thing that we're in control, where we're not. And because of what's happened over this last, well, it's, I keep saying year, but we're going into, we must be closer to 18 months now, right? For the last 18 months, that control, even though it was never there, but it's been visibly removed. So I think a lot of people have definitely started to go inwards. We've already had the mind, and this is why I suppose I called this show with just a sprinkling, because for some it might have been a step too far. Some people, they're getting to grips with the mind-body connection. That's been talked about so much. Well, you know, they're really into the mental health side of everything and it having an effect. But I think this last year, more and more people have come to the realization, well, like you said earlier, the truth, because the truth is a truth, whether you believe it or not, whether you see it or not, it is what it is. So they have really, I really feel that people have started to, like you say, going on that search, going on that quest for, you know, there is more. And so I think finally people are realizing that the woo-woo, it's not just a sprinkling, it's actually encompassing the whole lot. Have you found there's been a difference in the last year in general with people's perceptions?
Yes, I tell you, we run regular meditation classes and teachings around this, and our classes are, full, really full, because people are waking up. When you're in the house, you've got no access to anything else. You've got no choice but to go inside, right? So you go inside and you start to get to know who you are. Some people like what they see. Some people go into self-love issues and don't like what they see. And that's opened up a whole aspect that there's more than this. And that's what's fascinating for me. For me, I think, we've got to look at everything in the yin and yang. There's always good and positive in anything. Whatever is happening on Mother Earth right now is happening to wake people up. We have to wake up, right? We're not woken up enough. That's why there's separation. If we really think about it, there is no separation. We are one. We are one. The source that I came from is the source where you came from. The source that anyone else came from. We are one. We're one in that whole existence of the field. But we've separated. And so when things like this happen, I do believe that the universe has awakened this. And there is deeper teaching around this, but I think it might be a bit too deep today to go into this. But
we'll just dip our toes in.
So just dip our toes in. There is a reason why all this is activated right now, right? Because Mother Earth is coming to a new era. She's coming to the soul era. The soul era started on August the 8th, 2003. So the soul is going to be activated. You ask, number of people you ask, when was the last time you even said hello to your own soul? This is the first question I ask people when they come to my classes. Who said hello to their soul today? No one has. No one steps and says, hello, my soul. I love you. I'm so grateful to you. Let us go through this day together. Let us transform whatever we need to transform together. So it's like for you, if I'm talking to you and I don't even say, hi, Karen, you're going to feel ignored, right? You're not going to serve me as much. But if I say, hi, Karen, it's so lovely to be here, and it really is nice to be here. It's nice to have spaces where we can talk freely about these things, so that we can help people to really understand and decipher the truth, because the truth is the truth. Truth doesn't change.
Right.
Once we go into that and we say hello, then the soul starts to come up. And in this era, the soul is the boss. The soul is what's going to lead everything. The soul is going to transform. So now in the wisdom that I'm with, the soul carries information. It's the message. The heart is the receiver. So whatever the information is there, the heart is going to receive this information. But if the information is negative, the heart will receive the negative information. If the information is positive, the heart receives, but we have a balance, we have some of this and some of the other and stuff. The process of the mind is just to process. That's the job of the mind, is to process, right? Then the body, the energy and the body together is where the transformation happens, so manifestation happens. But actually what we're doing is we're looking at the manifestation. That's not where the changes are happening. We go back to the soul, right?
Right, that makes so much sense.
It's exciting.
It's also, I mean, even just in relation, to the whole, the way we treat disease, or, the whole way that we've been doing things for the modern era, I'd say, is exactly what you've just said there. It's all about looking at what's manifested. Well, it's a little bit late for that, really, because that's the end result.
That's
rather than looking at the cause. They're just trying to, and it's like, yeah, but that's just a symptom. Let's go back and look at the cause. And actually, you've taken it further. So even for me, yeah, I've sort of, learned a lot from the mind self-development thing. And so, but actually, what you've just said there about even starting your day, talking to your soul, that could possibly be why there is so much emphasis on, like I give my clients a morning ritual, and a lot of it is based around the gratitude.
Yeah.
But in a way, that is that connection to your soul, because I suppose, yeah, you're being grateful to the inner, the truth, the universal stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe that's working on coming into alignment, even though people aren't thinking in that way. Is that making sense? But because of that whole feeling of gratitude is the feeling of the linking into that, that's very possibly why, I don't know, people are they are feeling better throughout the day. But they're seeing it from the wrong point of view. Is that making sense?
Absolutely, and this is where the journey is, right? The process is. I mean, we can't, we can never go into judgment about where somebody's journey is or how far they've awakened or how they are. We have to be compassionate, and that's where the heart of compassion has to come in. With me, through all the teachings and the wisdom that I went through, I'm very blessed for my gurus. I'm very blessed for my spiritual teachers who came in, who brought me to my Tao master, Dr. Master Jigong Shah, who has taken this and just simplified it. He simplified it so much that even anyone who would just read something around this will get it and understand it. He wrote this book, so I'll just show you this book. He wrote this book called The Power of Soul. So this book, this is my Tao master. So
I'm sorry, what's the name of him?
It's Dr. Jigong Shah. So that's my Tao master, and what he's done, he's taken all dharmas, he's taken all teachings, and he's made them so simplified because he really is an awakened master. He is an enlightened master, and only an enlightened being can take others to an enlightened path. Sometimes I say to my students, even if you think you're not on a pathway to become enlightened, we're all striving to get better, aren't we? We're all striving to become better. We're all striving to have better. Isn't that already an enlightenment path? It's really moving towards that, where we can just become who we are and be that authentic self. And like you said, like you say hello to your plants, because your plants have a soul. Your plants have a soul. Everything has a soul. Every animate and inanimate thing has a soul. And you see, I tell you, recently we've been talking to the soul of our house, and the house doesn't want us to leave the house. It's like I said to my husband, I said, "Can you just feel this energy?" I said, "Just check in." Both of us are master teachers in this, so we got messages from the soul of the house. But this may sound a little bit woo-woo, and for some, it may be really outrageous. Like I don't believe that, and that's okay. I'm just sharing, the perspective. You believe, don't believe it. It's fine for everybody, right? Everyone will have their own journey, but I'm just sharing what I see to be such deep truth. That's why, if you think about it, when you speak to your plants, how they grow, they flourish, and nourish, right? And the experiments that Dr. Emoto did with the water.
Yes.
Right? That's information. That's message. So
100%. And people still don't quite. You think you see these things. That's because we are such physical sense beings, because the way we've been taught, all this going on, like you said, the mind is just a processor. But the way we've been taught throughout modern history is all this up here in our thoughts, that it's almost it feels like it's distracted us from the truth. Like you say, the heart, we're so much up here in our heads, and we need to come back down to the heart and soul connection. Is that sort of a similar? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's so true. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I used to work at British Airways, and we had a very nice group of friends, and very, very close. We were with each other day in and day out, and we were all young, straight out of college and all of that stuff. So when I started to go really deep into this wisdom and teaching, because I was searching for freedom from suffering. I was like, there has to be a way, what is life? And I was on a search. So as I came into it, and then I, with the grace of my Tao master, and so I elevated to becoming a Tao master, master teacher of the Tao Academy. So I'm able to teach, I'm able to transmit things, able to offer healing. This really close friend of mine, he said, I'm just living on another planet. He said, you just live on another planet. He goes, I haven't got time for you anymore, right? And that's how much we can be tested when we're so in our mind is correct. No, our mind knows everything. The beauty about what Master Shah is doing, he's actually marrying science and spirituality, because until they don't marry up, there is not going to be any freedom for everyone. So he wrote a book called Tao Science. He wrote a book called Tao Science, and Tao Science explains the spirituality with that whole aspect of scientific embodiment and teaching. So he co-authored that book with a physicist, a lady called Dr. Ru Lin. It's a fascinating book. For those who are still in the mind stuff, it's a fascinating book because it will explain to you exactly, what information is. Like science can only decipher things from the information they have. But the information they don't have, they can't actually do anything with that. Whereas spirituality goes that one step further, right?
Right.
We've got access to that information that science cannot have access to. And that's
Yes.
why when they start marrying up, so much transformation can happen and so much awakening can happen in the heart. So,
Absolutely.
beautiful. I think more and more people, if you look around at the moment, more and more people are going soul, 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 soul. Companies are coming up with names around soul,
Yes, there is definitely. Yes, you got the there was a Disney film recently, wasn't there? So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I totally agree. I think there is definitely an awakening. Whatever people believe in, some will think when we are moving up our consciousness into 4D. There's a lot of talk from different belief systems, but they're actually talking. They're all talking about this, like you say. They're all talking about the same thing.
All dharmas are speaking the one truth. They just have different, and what's happening is the way they're expressing it and the way they hear someone else expressing it, they say, no, this way is right and your way is not right. But actually, they're all speaking the same truth. Like every religion, every culture, who doesn't speak about love, Karen? Who doesn't speak about love, right?
Exactly.
Love is the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're here to love each other. We're here to be at one and peace with each other. Everyone talks about love. The Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Kabbalah, whatever culture, religion, caste, system, way of teaching, even the personal development industry, who isn't talking about love?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the issue is this. I think you said that you did say this earlier about we've got to have more compassion, because what I see is there's too much arrogance in the my way is the right way, and if everyone could soften that, then they would be able to see that, yeah, actually we are all talking about the same thing. So stop arguing, peeps, because we're all right, but I might have needed to hear it in a certain way. Maybe, even, like for some of the listeners, so they might be more on the mental, physical, coming into the more woo-woo, the spiritual side of it. So if they were to hear something more on the mindset way first as an intro, they're more likely to hear it. And I suppose that's what everybody, we don't care how you learn it, or, all roads lead to Rome, right? However you get there, does it matter? It's just about getting there.
And that's why, part of all this is really understanding the spiritual laws. If you can understand the spiritual laws, then you can make sure you don't repeat mistakes, right? And this is a key wisdom and key teaching. That's why we have to watch our thoughts. We have to watch our speech. We have to watch our actions, because they will determine what happens to us next. Because no one wants to suffer. Who wants to suffer? No one wants to suffer, right? Everyone's come here so that they can release the suffering. Everyone's searching so that they can release that suffering. And, whatever way is there for them to release the suffering, be there. The beauty about, spiritual wisdom and teaching is that it really teaches you how to be on this other side of the effect, the cause and effect. So we're looking at the effect all the time. Normal human beings out there who are in the mind world and the body world, they're looking at the effect. because this is the effect. But actually, if we look at the cause, okay, if I do this, then I will have a different way of being. So this lady who I said to her, I said, you know what? I said, you can transform this relationship with your husband. I said, do forgiveness on a soul level. Do forgiveness with his soul. Ask him for forgiveness the way you've hurt him in the past. And, she did it. She beautiful soul that she listened and she did it. Now they're so happy, have another baby, and it's like all the past is forgotten. So you can transform it. And one of the key things around that, we've just got to, as a human race, not judge everything, right? We're very good at judging. Human beings are very good at judging. And
Yes.
stop, because, like my Tao master says, and we say, you point one finger, you're pointing one finger out, three are pointing back at you,
Yes.
right?
There you go. There you
That's
go.
why spirituality goes within. Go within, look at yourself. Where can you improve? What can you do to transform your behavior? What can you do? If two people are fighting, A and B are fighting, A says some bad words to B says some bad words back, it's going to be forever. And
There you go. It doesn't end.
It doesn't end. But if one of them said, okay, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry that we've got this issue because possibly I have done some things that I may have caused you hurt or harm in past. I deeply apologize. Then there is no to and froing. This A gets released, B gets released, and everyone gets released. So, forgiveness is a deep, deep, deep teaching in what we do, because unless you're able to forgive, it's very, very beautiful. And it's beautiful to see people who do this.
Yeah, because I would have thought you see such huge changes. We had a few weeks ago actually. We had a show on literally just on forgiveness, and that it's not even. Some people can, and I can even think of a few people right now who have such a hard time on forgiving others, and it's if you can just help them understand that it's actually for you. I say to people, it's like drinking poison and expecting the person to get ill. It's just, it just seems so crazy. So even on a selfish, even on a purely thinking about self, so not even thinking about the other person, even not having forgiveness seems ridiculous because you are hurting yourself. But then it goes deeper than that, and you forgive the other person because you don't know what's gone on in there. We don't know what life they've led or what's happened to them. It's interesting.
Absolutely. It's so powerful. And one of the reasons why I know that I'm credible enough to speak about this, I have gone through this. So I've had childhood sexual abuse. I have been in a marriage where I'm married an alcoholic. I had physical abuse, I had rape. I had my 5-year-old son taken away from me. I had so many reasons to be bitter, but I wasn't bitter. I learned to let it go. I learned to let it all go, and I'm happy. I'm happy. And that's the key thing. Release everything. If I didn't forgive all this that happened to me in my life, where would I be right now?
You'd be suffering right now. You'd be suffering.
And I would never be able to help the souls that I'm helping right now. So, I know somebody, I just heard this. I heard someone's going to ask, well, how would you know, But I tell you, I have gone through it. I have gone through the works. In whatever it is, you name it, I have experienced it. And that's why I can talk from this place of experience. I can talk from this place of authenticity because I know what I did to transform it, to be here and to live in peace. Who doesn't need peace? We need peace, right?
There you go. Isn't it interesting that why is it, do you think, that it does seem to be a common trait? As in, what am I trying to say here? It's almost like we have to learn these new ways of being. But why is it the default? It seems to be the default setting to hold on to it until you have been maybe or been made aware that it's actually harming you. So I wonder where do you think this comes from?
So, you know, like we've got the light side, okay? So we've got the light side and Jesus and Krishna and Shiva and all the saints and all that is light side. We've got the light side of love, forgiveness, compassion, you know, humility and all of that. That's the light side. But where you have light side, you've got dark side, right? That's the duality we're living in. So the dark side is also within us. So all of these traits are living within us. And it's a constant battle. You know, it's a battle of the dark versus the light. Who wins is the one who lets go and moves forward, right? Because the
Right.
dark wants you to move forward. The dark says, no, don't go to this. Don't go and listen to this. It's rubbish. You don't need this. You already got mind over matter. There's so much information. You're strong. But the light side saying, open your heart. Open your heart. Open your heart. Open your heart, right? And so that battle is constantly going on inside of us. So we are going through this. And so when we do the forgiveness, we are actually giving freedom to give love to the darkness within us as well, and to allow that to be released. Because you can only release it if you go in sincerity to release it, right?
Right.
Like A and B have done something wrong. A and B know that they've done something wrong, right? Which one of us doesn't know when we've done something wrong? We haven't done something wrong. So it's like acknowledging that and saying, you know what? I asked for forgiveness for my behavior. And when you ask for forgiveness for your behavior, the light jumps on, the light strengthens you, and you move forward. Everything is a test. Everything is a spiritual test. And it's, unfortunately, Karen, it's that spiritual testing that people get stopped. So the spiritual testing, the purification gets so much, they go, no, 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 this is too much for me, I'm not going to do this. You just have to get through it. You have to push through the perturbation, right? You think it was easy for me to do forgiveness? I couldn't do forgiveness. It was like, well, how can I forgive what's been done to me? But I learned a way to forgive. And I learned how to do it where I felt the compassion in my heart. And when I did, I had no more charge with that anymore. Because I have no charge with that anymore, my heart is filled with love, compassion, and a way to just be in that forgiveness state all the time. So for me now, because the wisdom, this is where wisdom comes in. It's not enough just to have all this. We need the wisdom. The spiritual wisdom is eternal. So we don't know what we don't know until we know what we know. Right?
That is so true. So true.
Once we know what we know, how can life still be the same? Now we're in a different realm. Now I'm like, okay, now I have this information. Okay, these were my mistakes. I'm suffering on X, Y, and Z because I made these mistakes. In a past life, even if we don't believe in past life, what about this life? Haven't many of us made mistakes in this life where we've hurt somebody, where we've been rude to somebody? And I deeply apologize for those souls, you know. I know in my growing up, I have been rude. I have been misaligned in my actions and my thoughts and stuff. And so you're going to get the repercussions of that. So even if they don't believe in past life, it's okay. You know, we're not here to convince anyone, right or wrong. But even look at this life. Look at this life. Sometimes you'll see when someone's done something, they will experience the exact same scenario, right? What is that if that's not karma?
I suppose it's because sometimes it can come back round straight away, so then you can link it, and other times there's too much of a space in between, so people don't connect the dots.
Yeah.
You see, so I suppose that could be part of it, because we would have a bit of a joke in this house, you know, if something had happened or somebody, you know, something happens to me, like, well, there you go, karma.
Even the spiritual books say it, right? What you sow is what you reap.
Yeah.
You know, cause and effect, deeds, everyone is speaking it. But if we just get it, we understand it. You know, if you look at, I want to just share something with you. This was a deep realization for me. If you look at trees, right? Aren't they going through reincarnation? The tree grows, the leaves blossom, then the leaves fall. Isn't that reincarnation? And then the next season, new leaves form. Like
Yeah.
this is so deep. It's so deep that when you look around nature, nature is teaching us. Nature is teaching us the spiritual wisdom. Flowers, once flowers bloom and blossom, they they fall off, and then a next flower comes off. Isn't that process of
Yeah.
reincarnation?
Yeah. Sure.
What about our
Yeah.
clothes, right? This is just going really to the other side. What about our clothes? Do our clothes last forever? Our clothes don't last forever.
No.
Plants don't
Well,
last
they
forever.
get transformed into something else, maybe.
And so, therefore, change is inevitable. Change is inevitable. No matter what we're doing, no matter what our circumstances, no matter what our situation, change is inevitable. What doesn't change is our soul, our yuanshan, our soul that is the soul from the source. That doesn't change. And then that just changes form and it comes back with us and it helps us. And so our soul is helping us all the time, but we don't listen. Our soul can give us lessons when we don't listen. You know, you think of those times when you have a gut feeling, right? What's a gut feeling? It's your soul telling you something. You go, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to listen to my mind. And then you listen to your mind and you're like, oh, I should have done that. Right?
100%. Yes. Always go with your gut. That's what I tell
Yeah.
everybody. Go with your gut. I mean,
Yeah.
even that side of it nowadays, they are starting to say, again, because they're always searching for the stuff that they can find, right? Rather than just trust. So they now realise so much is going on in the gut. They're calling it another brain is in the gut. Well, okay. So there is some kind of more of a connection. Interesting. It's such a fascinating subject, and you're right. I think more and more people are coming around to it. So, how can the power of soul transform all life?
So first and foremost, heal the soul first, right? So heal the soul first, and healing and transformation of the heart, mind, and body will follow. Communicate with the soul first, then the communication with the heart, mind, and body will follow. Transform the soul first, then transformation of the heart, mind, and body will follow. The soul is the key. So I'm just going to read this sentence to you, right? This is from this book. The power of soul is soul over matter. So we've gone to mind over matter. That era is gone. Now it's soul over matter, which means soul can heal, boost energy, stamina, vitality, and immunity, prevent sickness, rejuvenate, prolong life, and transform every aspect of life, including relationships, finances, as well as to reach enlightenment. And all we have to start off with is to say hello. We say hello to our own soul. Then the soul is now acknowledged. Now you work with your soul and you communicate with your soul. I did a podcast with someone a few months ago. I think he found everything I was saying quite hilarious. I was like, it's okay, I'm just sharing the truth, because there is the truth and there's the truth, right? And the truth doesn't change. So when you start to heal and transform the soul, communicate with the soul, do the forgiveness with the soul, ask your soul to help you heal your body. Your soul can heal. I'll share an example with you, Karen. I had a workshop about a few years ago. I had an older lady. She came to my workshop. She had incredible knee pain. And, I said to her, I won't say her name because I haven't asked her permission whether I can share this. I'll share the story. So I said to her, I did it in my home, and I said that who wants to be a demo to show you the power of soul? And she says, I want to, and I picked her because there were about 15 people. But I said, okay, I'm going to pick you. So I said, what's your issue? She said, I can't walk properly. She says, I have such deep pain in my knees. And she says, it's troubling me. So I was sitting here and I said, okay, come up, come up. So I said to her, just turn around. And I said, just feel for a moment. So I said, something I said, I'll just share with you what I said. And then for a few minutes, and I said, okay, now just walk again. She goes, wow. She said, my knees feel so light. And she was going to stay only half the time because she couldn't sit for that long. She ended up staying the whole workshop. And then she goes, wow, what did you do? That was so amazing. I feel so light in my knees and everything's so good. So I said, you know what I did? I said, I spoke to the soul of your knees. I said to her knees, I said, dear the soul of, let's just call her, give me a name. I can't think of a name right.
Just random name.
I said, dear the soul of Lisa's knees, you have the power to heal yourself. Do a good job. And that's all I said. That is all I said. And literally, I didn't say it out loud. I said it silently, but I said it to her soul. And literally, she had this transformation. Now, for people who are listening, they were like, no, I don't believe that. Try it. If you want to know if a flower is sweet, taste it. If you want to know if this works, try it. It works.
There you go. The body, I 100% believe the body is designed to heal itself. Again, we get too busy. Again, I don't like to use that word because the word is negative and it's in and of itself, but the arrogance of that we are in charge. I mean, even think of it on just a physical level, but it's even arrogant on a physical level to think that we're in charge, because if I had to remember to breathe, I'd be dead. If it was left to me to be in control of pumping my heart every beats per minute, I'd be dead because I would have forgot it. Or it's so arrogant, really, to think that we are in charge. We're not in charge. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I've got something way more powerful than me that is in charge of me. So I think people people know it on a certain level, and then when they go a little bit inwards, their heart knows it. It's just that we can get so busy up here thinking that we have this power. And
you're absolutely right, because you think of the times when people have some suffering on their body. For example, I hear this with cancer all the time, right? I don't want to make any other comments on this, but just here with cancer, I'm going to beat cancer's, arse or backside or something.
Yes.
I'm going to fight this, but it's always that battle. But what if you gave love to the cells in your body? What if you gave love to the organs in your body? What if you gave them acknowledgement? How often do we say to our heart, thank you, my heart, for pumping the way you do? Thank you, my liver, for helping me to restore everything that you do to restore. Thank you, my spleen, for helping me to digest and absorb the nutrients. Thank you, my kidneys. How often do we even do that? We don't do it.
There you go. I mean, that is, you're so right. There's so many wars on this, and war against this, and a war against cancer, and a war against drugs, and and the more we're pushing against, we're just bringing it to us.
Yeah,
but you're right. The moment we actually can flip it around, and again, it goes back to gratitude. Again, so even that's given me a different insight even into that. But even down to your own kids, when if you ever bought your child something and they've not shown gratitude to you, it doesn't make you really feel like giving them anything else, does it? Or you've taken them out for a day and they start whinging, and you think, oh, hang on a minute, guys, come on, be grateful. So even that makes you realise that again, it's all energy, isn't it? So it would make sense that if you want to get that, then maybe you should give that. It's all about alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people talk about, oh, I don't believe in spiritual, but we're spiritual beings. There's nothing to not believe in, right? We are spiritual beings. Being a spiritual being means to be kind, to be compassionate, to be forgiving, isn't it? Are we all trying to strive to become good human beings, to be kinder in everything we're doing? So we are all on a spiritual journey, whether we accept it or acknowledge it or, oh no, Christina, I hear this all the time. Oh no, I'm not really into the spiritual woo stuff. It's not for me. But you are.
It is you, 100%.
Yeah, and you just got to love people through that moment. You know, you love them through it. You don't judge. You don't rush them. It's their timing. You, of course, you share the education. You share the wisdom. Because, like I said, once you know what you know, you can't just be the same person anymore, right?
You can't not know it, can you? It's like riding a bike. You just...
Yes. Once you stretch that mind, the heart, the spiritual being, it never go back to that same space. Now, once I know all this wisdom that I know about life, does it mean that I'm not going to suffer anymore? No, it doesn't mean that. It means whatever karma I still have to release may surface up at any time. But it means I have the tools. I can get through it. I can move through it. I
Right.
can transition through it. Right? And that's the beauty of this.
And it's
You have to-
that must be very empowering, because it doesn't mean suffering's never going to happen, but maybe you recover from the suffering a lot quicker and you're not down there so long.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
You know, it's powerful. I'm so very grateful for all the teachers who brought me to this time in my life, because I had to go through, you know, my guru was there. He's not in physical form, but he was a good visionary who really transformed the world in many, many ways. And I spent a very many few months near the Himalayas. So for me, I was really immersed in it. You know, it was hard. It wasn't easy. It's cold. You know, it's cold. I can say it's like no cold that you've experienced. It's hard because of food and all of this stuff. But I tell you, if I had to do it over again, I would do it. I would do it
Wow.
without thinking. Because of all of that, the hardship I went through even on that spiritual journey, it brought me to I was searching for a physical teacher. And because I said, okay, I've gone through this. I can't keep going to the Himalayas like this. I did spend 6 months and more, and I spent a long time there, you know.
Wow.
Back. But because I transformed within myself, my down master appeared. You know, like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
You hear it, and yes, again, I so believe in that, and that is just such another true story.
Absolutely. He appeared at the right time, and then he took me further. So he took me on wisdom that I didn't even understand or comprehend, and all of a sudden I started to get it. And you know what that happens? What happens? You just become happier and happier. You know, you become freer, and that's what we want. We want to become free.
Yeah, isn't that what everybody wants, really, isn't it? So how? So I know we've just gone on a journey here. It's been so fascinating. I know I've missed out a lot of the questions, but for any of the listeners, so what? And apologies because I called you Isla instead of.
That's okay. I've been called that all my life.
So for the listeners, what do you offer people, and how do you work?
So what we offer a lot of meditation classes. So it's not normal meditation. We offer Tao calligraphy meditation. So these are the calligraphies behind me. So the one on my right says greatest gratitude. The one behind me says greatest light. And so we teach them how to do meditation practice using 6 power techniques. We also do a lot of workshops, and we also take people through a healing journey to become healers. So myself and my husband, we have the authority to be able to transmit healing hands to people. So, you know, heaven has released this right now to humanity, where they are creating healers with the transmission. So my husband and I we are both the husband and wife team who do this as master teachers, so we can transmit healing through the hands, and then we help develop the healers on their spiritual path and their journey, so they can serve their families, they can serve themselves. So it's about empowerment, you know, because I have the power to heal myself, you have the power to heal yourself, together we have the power to heal the world. So we are all about empowerment, how we can give you the tools so you can self-heal, heal your families, heal your loved ones. And, you know, that's the pathway. It's very beautiful. So very, very, I am so grateful for this journey. I'm so grateful to be on this. And I'm grateful to serve anybody, you know.
Fantastic. So if anybody's listening, how would they get in touch with you? What is your website?
So I have a website. It's www.ilallagram However, my website's been hacked, so it's going through some little bit of testing at the moment, but it still will be up and running, later this week. But you can connect with me on Facebook. We have a lot of things we share on Facebook. We have a Love, Peace, Harmony Facebook page where we're just offering Love, Peace, Harmony service to others, so that anyone can join Love, Peace, Harmony London Movement UK. It's Love, Peace, Harmony Movement London UK. That's
fantastic. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the links will already be put down there. So thank you so much for your time, Hila. And thank you guys for listening. And I will be back next week with a Coffee with Karen. Thank you very much. Bye.
Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.